How much better do you think your life would be if you were able to hyper-focus? Focus on only the important things and cut out all the junk and all the distractions. If your mind was clear, if you had the attention span able to focus on one thing for hours on end, how much further along in life do you think you would be? How much faster would you progress towards your goals? Fortunately, this is totally possible to do, but unfortunately, it is becoming increasingly more and more difficult to do with algorithms and AI that have the ability to catch our attention span in 1 second, to keep us scrolling on social media for hours. It is becoming easier and easier to be distracted all the time, and before we know it, hours, days, months, years pass and we're in the same place. Why? Because it is so easy and they have made it so pleasurable to be distracted all the time. So if you're someone who has goals and you actually want to achieve these goals, how do we push past all these distractions? How do we be intentional with our time and what we do, what we think about, to stay focused on what's important in a world that is constantly pulling us in the other direction? So in this video, I just wanted to sit down and share ideas of what I've been thinking about and my experience with both being hyper-focused in times in my life and also the complete opposite, and how I think you can get to the place of being focused on your goals, progressing every single day, and really living a life that is free from distraction. Alright, so I think the first step to becoming focused is obviously knowing what you need to be focused on. Because if you know what you need to be focusing on, you know what is a distraction and what pulls you away from that. So you really need to define your goals, the types of things you want to achieve, do, the person that you want to become. Because once you know that, you know exactly what is going to inhibit your ability to get there. You know, like for some people, video games could be a total waste of time, a total distraction. But for others, that might be your entire focus. That might be, your goals might be within becoming a pro gamer or a gaming YouTuber or whatever. I don't know. But for some people, it might be a distraction. For some people, it might be your focus. So you need to know exactly what your goals are so that you can define exactly what your distractions are. Now, in this day and age, and what I've been realizing is that there's almost, at least for me, there's kind of like a tier list of distractions. There are some things that like help me towards my goals, but also in a sense there are way more valuable things that I could be spending my time on. Does that make sense? So it can get a little bit tricky, a little bit confusing, but I really wanted to talk today more about the things, the distractions that are almost like a drug that poisons our brain, that corrupts our attention span, our dopamine system, our ability to focus. Things like social media, porn, obviously drugs, but that's an extreme. But not really, because in a sense, social media is a drug. Porn is definitely a drug, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But these distractions that leak into other areas of our life and really pull us back. And unfortunately, as time goes on, these things become more and more powerful with technology, algorithms, AI, and it's becoming harder and harder and harder to focus because these things are becoming more potent, more powerful in our lives. You know, especially for Gen Z, I mean, we've pretty much grown up on social media, and the impact of that on our brains, I think is way worse than what we realize. I mean, we're at a place where I look around and I see people in my generation, they can't even focus on anything for more than a second. They're always on their phone, they're always scrolling, they're always distracted. And I think because of this, we have literally grown up distracted to a point where I think some people don't even give a thought to what they want to be in 10 years, what they want to do. They're so distracted that they just go with the flow, they just do what they're told, they just follow the path because, they're going to end up someplace, somewhere, at some point. But I assume if you're watching this video, you have a goal, you have a place in mind where you want to end up, and you really want to get there. You're done being distracted, you're done wasting your time, destroying your attention, destroying your focus, and you have a destination. And that is a great first step. And I've seen in my own life a lot of ebbs and flows of being hyper-focused, really distracted, hyper-focused, where it's so hard nowadays to cut out these distractions, because again, it's so powerful. So how do we avoid them? I mean, I think the first step is understanding exactly what something like social media, porn, even video games do to our mind, where it's these things appeal to our innate desires in our brain, our dopamine system that is in place to reinforce positive behavior. But the problem is these distractions, they're made to spike our dopamine system to a point where almost nothing else naturally can give us a bigger hit. So in simple terms, we are up here, and things like working on your goals, things like reading, becoming smarter, more intelligent, doing things that, are hard and that you need to focus on to get to your goals, they're not appealing. They're not pleasurable, they're boring. You're up here and you want to stay up here. You want to get farther. So you're going to keep seeking hits. You ever notice when you're scrolling on social media, at some point you start scrolling faster and faster and faster and faster? It's because these videos that were once pleasurable and appealing are now becoming more and more bland because your dopamine continues to spike, and it's designed to seek a bigger hit. You're up here. It's only raising and raising and raising to the point where like you're spending hours and hours just seeking a bigger hit. And when you're doing this, things like working on your hobby, things like your goals, like writing, recording a video, practicing a sport, they're not appealing because that's not as pleasurable. This is what things like social media do to your brain, like porn and video games. I actually made a video about social media a while back, that talks a little bit more about that. It will be somewhere up here. So I don't want to get into it too far right now. But what you just got to understand, these are horrible distractions that actually change your brain, that actually change the chemistry in your head and destroy your attention span, destroy your focus. So these are things you completely want to avoid. I know the problem is it's incredibly hard, but at least hopefully the knowledge of what this does to you, this pulls you away from your goals to the point where it makes your actionable steps, the things that you need to do and focus on to achieve your goals, it makes it boring. So you really don't want to indulge in these things, like almost at all, because they are detrimental to your focus, detrimental to your attention, everything. So hopefully, at least with this knowledge, you can take a second before you pick up your phone and start scrolling and be like, hold up. Right now I feel like this, but if I go into this and start scrolling, it's only going to drag me farther and farther away from even wanting to do activities that put me towards my goals, that are actually productive and that I should be doing. Indulging in distractions like this only pull you farther and farther and farther away. And what I found in my own life is once I start cutting out and being intentional with not scrolling, obviously not indulging in porn, not playing video games, because for me video games don't align with my goals, so I'm not playing video games. Once I start to cut these out, like things that should be pleasurable and things that I should enjoy, I start to enjoy, like reading, like learning, listening to podcasts, actually hanging out with people and having good conversation, like recording videos and actually taking steps towards my goals becomes, these actions become things that I actually feel like doing, things that are pleasurable and because they should be. Working towards your goals should be enjoyable. It should be pleasurable, but the distractions, but things like social media corrupts that. It destroys your desire to, become better and to actually do something useful with your time. And unfortunately, that's exactly what these big tech companies are trying to do. Because the longer you spend on their platforms, the more money they make. So they've poured so much money, so much time and effort into making these apps and these algorithms so good that you don't want to do anything else. And that is the problem. And I think once you realize that, it becomes a little bit easier to avoid. All right. So the first steps, define your goals so you can define your distractions. And overall, I think we can agree, doom scrolling, things like porn, video games for I'd say most of us, obviously drugs and alcohol that quite literally just like completely mess up your brain and your thought process in the moment. These are all bad distractions that are useless, that you should avoid. And, and again, these leak into other areas of your life. These directly impact your focus, your attention span, your ability to just sit down and get into flow state and want to do what you need to do. And I think once you become more and more intentional with these things, you're going to see a huge difference. And another one of these incredibly impactful principles are who you hang out with. All right, who you hang out with, I think, is a million times more important than what people think. You ever heard the saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with? Even the Bible has multiple verses talking about this. There's one in 1 Corinthians 15 that says, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. All right, there's one in Proverbs 13:20. It says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. You got to understand the people you spend time with influence your actions. They influence how you think, what you do with your time, obviously. I mean, if you're hanging out with people who all they want to do is sit on their phones and doom scroll, or like just kill time playing video games, that is all you're going to do. And if you spend enough time with these people, that's the type of person you become as well. But on the flip side, if you spend time with people who are hyper focused on their goals, especially if goals that are similar or the same as yours, and that's what they spend their time doing, and you intentionally hang out to grow as a person and grow closer to who you want to be, what you want to do, that is what you're going to be spending your time doing. That is who you're going to become. That is what you're going to do with your time. I went to college for a year, and before I went, I was already super into self-improvement. I already knew exactly what my goals were, what I want to pursue, things that I know that are worth my time and that are not. And going into college, I knew that this would be incredibly hard and that I need to be incredibly intentional with who I hang out with, what I spend my time doing, because I honestly think college is a breeding ground of distractions. But it also could be the complete opposite. And unfortunately, I think people fall into the trap of the ideology of these next 4 years I just need to enjoy, because the rest of my life I'm not going to. And what that does to someone's mind is puts it in a place where all I want to do is just have fun and seek pleasure and enjoy my time now. Because when I'm an adult, when I get out of here and I have a job, I know I'm not going to enjoy it. And that honestly sucks. I hate that. I hate that mindset. I went in knowing that I hated that mindset and that I did not want to indulge with that at all. So what I did was I was intentional with who I hung out with. I hung out with people who were driven like me, who had the same mindset, who were into the same things like working out, business, entrepreneurial. And that was a huge thing during that time, because I spent my time with people who were pursuing their goals, who were focused. And during my time there, I started business, worked on it for months. I started another business, worked on both of those together. I worked out consistently. I was disciplined. In the midst of complete distractions, I could have gone and just hung out with people, done useless things all day, played video games all day, indulged in worldly things that just don't matter. But because of the people who I hung out with, we pushed each other, we kept each other accountable, and we pursued things together. So if you're going into college and again, you want to be focused, you have these goals, you need to be incredibly intentional with who you hang out with. This one principle could be the difference of you becoming all that you want to be, all that you were meant to be, and then becoming the complete opposite. That's the difference. So hanging out with the right people combined with avoiding social media and all these huge distractions that actually just completely ruin your life. This combination is so powerful. It's incredibly powerful. But there's so much that goes into this. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but I have a few more things that I want to share that I think really added to my ability to focus. Once you cut out those horrible distractions, you're really left with things that pretty much just add to your life. Things like me, for example. If I'm trying to grow a YouTube channel any sort of thing that adds to my creativity, that makes me more creative, is productive, is good. So I think when it comes to being intentional with your time, I'm at a point where I recognize some things are more valuable and higher return on investment in terms of my time, than others. So I kind of know exactly what I need to focus on. Like, so the way that I kind of structure how I spend my time is that, to me, if anything pushes me towards my goals, that is productive. So what I try to do is I try to fill my whole day with things that I deem productive, right? Like drawing would be productive in my eyes. I'm not going to spend my whole day drawing because that's not my main focus. But if I want to change of pace, if I kind of am feeling burnt out with recording or scripting or something, and I want to do something, and I want to do another activity that is, that kind of gives me a break, I try to be intentional with doing something that still adds to my life, something that helps me still progress, right? Because I think a huge mistake that people make nowadays, especially in our generation, we get burnt out with our work. We get burnt out, doing productive things, and we just want to rest. But unfortunately, rest in the eyes of our generation means sitting on the couch scrolling or binging TV shows. These things that we think are restful, but are also they're just draining us. They're honestly the complete opposite. Do you ever feel rested after you spend 3 hours scrolling on social media? No. So I think the idea of being intentional with how you spend your time is especially important, with how you spend your time not on tasks that are directly related to your goals. This is kind of a little bit hard for me to explain, but just for example, like for me, hanging out with friends, making memories, having experiences, like talking about deep stuff, to me that is productive. That is amazing rest from my actual work, from working on my craft. So I guess my advice is not to fall into the pit of thinking rest and taking a break means indulging in distractions that ruin you, that ruin your brain, like social media, porn, video games, like these things that we think are restful and that our flesh is telling us that are restful, but really it's just us like having that pull towards these really pleasurable things, and just our desire to feel that massive dopamine spike. That's all that is. That's not restful at all, and that doesn't refuel you. That doesn't give you energy to do actions that are directly related to your goals. So be intentional with your time. Be intentional with how you rest, how you spend your time when you are not directly working on your craft or your goals or just your work, because these actions really can affect when you do work on your goals, when you do work on these high value tasks. All right, and just wrapping up, one more thing that I think people kind of look past is honestly your diet. Dude, if your diet is horrible, filled with junk, things that are just absolute garbage for you, you're going to feel that in your mind. You're going to feel that in your focus. You're going to have brain fog. You're going to have a harder time, sitting down and being able to focus and not being distracted. Your diet plays a huge role in fueling your body, giving you energy, and giving you that ability to be able to do one task for an extended period of time. I think diet plays a way bigger role in your life than you really think. I mean, and it's honestly similar to scrolling your dopamine. When you have sugar all the time, you just continue to want more and more and more, and that just spikes your dopamine. Suddenly things that you just want to eat a donut, bro. you just want to keep indulging in these acts that spike your dopamine, and I think just like I think the food industry is very similar to the big tech that is just trying to steal your attention. They're forming these foods that make you want to keep coming back, that just don't do anything for you. So you want to keep consuming and consuming. All right, so be intentional with your diet, intentional with your time, intentional with who you spend your time with, intentional about your distractions, your goals, your focus. This is really, in conclusion, the art of intentionality. Being able to focus on a task just means being intentional with all these areas in your life that feed into your focus. And yeah, let me know down below if you have any ideas, what you think about this, if you have anything to add. I'm sure I've missed something. There's just so much that goes into, being focused, avoiding distractions, especially in this day and age. Like it's incredible, man. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas of, future videos. I'm open to whatever. But yeah, stay focused. God bless. I'll see you in the next one.